I want to tell you about the best, most sustainable sex lives I've seen. I want to paint a picture of where this goes when it works, because everything I'm about to walk you through is heavy, and I don't want you to lose sight of what's on the other side. The best, most sustainable sex lives I've seen in my practice exist in couples who have both intimacy and eroticism. Intimacy is closeness, warmth, safety, feeling emotionally accompanied by your partner, being relationally connected mentally. Eroticism is freshness, novelty, adventure, exploration. Most couples who are struggling try to fix things by adding more erotic stuff, a new position, a toy, lingerie, a trip. But without the intimacy infrastructure underneath, the erotic stuff just doesn't land, or it feels hollow or performative or like another failed attempt. What I help people build is the intimacy side, because when you are truly connected to yourself and you feel emotionally safe with your partner, the erotic stuff flourishes naturally. All the fun, adventurous, once taboo things that felt off limits become available because both of you feel open and safe and ready to explore together. A flexible, varied, intimate, safe, close sexual relationship is right on the other side of this work, and that's where we're heading. Now, let me tell you what I see on the other side of my office door when a man walks in and says, "We have a dead bedroom." When a man walks in my office and says, "We have a dead bedroom," I can feel it before he finishes the sentence. There's a desperate energy in the room. He's not coming to me because he wants to. He's coming because he's been in this place too long and he doesn't know what else to do. He's lonely, agitated, feeling worthless and overwhelmed, maybe exasperated from buying all the toys and the lingerie and trying all the different things. He feels beaten down, like he's done everything right and nothing has changed. And I want to be clear about something before we go any further. I know you miss the sex. I know you miss wanting her and feeling wanted back. I hear what it sounds like when a man tells me he heard her say she's tired again and he stared at the ceiling for an hour. When he watches her laugh easily with her friends and wonders where that person goes when she's in their bedroom. When he describes reaching for her and feeling her whole body shift away. That loss is real and it matters, and I'm not going to tell you it doesn't. But I am going to tell you it's not what's actually broken. What I can see that he can't is that his lonely, heavy feeling is not just new for him. It's just taken form in a sexual context in this relationship. That weight, that inevitable ache of not being truly known by somebody has been there a lot longer than the dead bedroom. But he doesn't know that yet, and that's where the real work begins. He thinks it's frequency. He thinks she doesn't have desire anymore. He usually attributes it to external things, stress, having kids, getting older, life just getting in the way. Sometimes he thinks she doesn't find him attractive anymore, but usually he locates the problem in circumstances. Things happen to us and now we're here. What he's not saying, what he doesn't have access to yet, is that the disconnection in his bedroom is a reflection of the disconnection he's been carrying most of his life. The dead bedroom isn't a sex problem, it's a visibility problem. He has never fully been seen by someone in a way that allowed him to be all of himself. And he doesn't know that's what's missing because he's never had it. On her side, I see one of two patterns. Some women are feeling the same thing he's feeling. She misses it too and is lonely in the same way. But a lot of women have done something that breaks my heart every time I see it. They've normalized it. They've accepted this is just what a marriage is when you get older and you have kids and responsibilities. That acceptance is the real death of the bedroom, not the life circumstances, because it's not inevitable. Every young family goes through a season of slow, but that doesn't have to become the rest of your life. There's something that most people also aren't willing to say out loud. A lot of women have not had sex that is actually good for them. Men and women are taught through porn and movies what good sex is supposed to look like and feel like. And sadly, that version is usually not what good sex actually is for most women. On top of that, many women are deeply disconnected from their own bodies. She doesn't know what she wants, and it feels way too overwhelming on low sleep and high stress. Where would she even begin? And why would it be worth it anyways? Here's why it's worth it. This feeling, the feeling of wanting someone and getting them, of them wanting you, of imparting value to each other, of connecting so presently and physically in pleasure and warmth and intensity. This is one of the best feelings a human being can have. It's part of the reason why people have affairs and risk everything they've built. It's part of why people cross their values and their vows to obtain that feeling, even if just for a moment. It's really quite amazing that we can convince ourselves it's normal to never have it again, unless we're willing to cross everything we stand for. It doesn't have to be that way. Here's where I need to take you underneath the surface. When I take a man's full history, his childhood, his family dynamics, his earliest relationships, his nervous system patterns, and then read it back to him, making sense of it with compassion, his face always changes. There's relief, there's sadness, there's grief. But mostly there's a sense of settling, like he finally put the puzzle together. He gets it. He can see the through line from how he was raised to how he's showing up in his marriage. He can feel why his body does what it does when his wife reaches for him or when intimacy is on the table. And it doesn't mean that the work is complete. But for the first time, he has a bearing on where he needs to go and what he needs to do, instead of going down 1,000 side quests that all lead back to the same spot. The men who come to me with a dead bedroom are always shut down in some way emotionally, especially in the softer, more vulnerable parts of themselves. And that shutdown started early. There was a protective mechanism that usually got installed for most boys around age 5 or 6 when they first learned that their softness wasn't welcome and that patterning just never left. It told him that needing people makes you weak, that the only safe emotions are anger, confidence, and performance. And here's the thing that makes this so painful. Some of these men are actually quite impressive in how open and insightful and soft they can be with me in session. They do the work, they take the risks, they say the hard thing. But the person they need to be the most open and brave with isn't me, it's their spouse. And that's where the fear lives. Because our neural pathway for romantic attachment, listen to this, is repurposed from our parents. So the person the man needs to be the most vulnerable with is wired to the same circuitry that once made vulnerability dangerous. How messed up is that? His wife, his wife isn't his mother or his father, but his nervous system doesn't fully know that. And the potential for rejection, for abandonment, for being hurt in the deepest way feels as threatening to his body as it did when he was small. And fear is so good at its job that most of the time it's completely unconscious. So men don't walk around thinking, I'm afraid to be vulnerable with my wife. They walk around thinking she's the one with the problem, or we just need to have more date nights, or I need to get a new toy, or I'm just not that emotional of a person. I've sat with couples where the man is totally shut down and silent with his wife in the room. And then the moment she leaves for his individual session, he opens up like a totally different person. And when I reflect back how palpable that difference is, it helps him realize how much he's actually been protecting himself from rejection or abandonment or old wounds from his childhood. His body remembers those wounds from when he was little, even if he doesn't. And it treats him like he will be just as crushed as an adult, but he won't be. But his nervous system doesn't know that yet. 3 things change this. The first is debunking the story. This is not the life you have to accept. Everyone is not headed here and you just got here first. The dead bedroom is not an inevitable consequence of aging or marriage or parenthood or stress. It is a signal that something underneath needs attention and that something is fixable. Second is owning your past and your disconnection from yourself. Understanding how your childhood, your family, your earliest relationships predisposed you to a life of disconnection from yourself and therefore from your spouse currently. This isn't about blame, it's about honest seeing. Can you look at your history without rewriting it? And I want to be clear about something. You don't have to stay here forever. I'm not trying to keep you in this place of sitting with painful feelings indefinitely. We're stopping by, settling what needs to be settled, and moving on. The third is having the willingness to come in and get closer and more intimate with yourself, to take risks, to say the hard things to your partner, to say the things that caused you pain constructively in a way that moves through the pain rather than keeping it alive. To say the things that you're mad about without weaponizing or aiming them at somebody. To be honest about what you need without performing or hinting or running a covert contract. That's the work. And it doesn't happen through a communication script or a new position or weekend workshop. It happens through the slow, uncomfortable, deeply human process of rebuilding your relationship with yourself so you can finally show up as a whole person with the person lying next to you. I got tired of watching men fall through the gap. Therapy gave them depth, but not always direction. Coaching gave them direction, but skipped the root cause. And the dead bedroom kept being treated as a sex problem when it was always, every single time, a visibility problem. Men's intimacy blueprint is the thing I wish existed for every man who sat across from me with that desperate energy and that invisible ache. It has clinical depth because I'm a licensed clinical therapist and ASEX certified sex therapist who can go where coaches legally and clinically cannot. And it has structure because men need a framework, a ladder, clear rungs, and someone watching them climb. If the foundation is an assessment that maps the pattern underneath your disconnection, not a personality quiz, a clinical decode of how you became who you are and what's running the show underneath the surface. And if you're not ready for the full program, start with just the assessment. That alone will give you more insight. It takes 15 minutes and it'll give you more clarity about your patterns than most men get in months of searching or doing therapy. The full program and assessment are launching this summer. I'm so excited. And if you want to be the first to know when it's available, join the waitlist and follow along here on Instagram. Ideally, MIB works alongside therapy, but you don't have to be doing therapy to do it. But it does help shake loose stuff that you can process in therapy, memories that surface after the assessment, what gets triggered in the live calls if you do the whole program, or the somatic work if you do the whole program. All of that just becomes content for you and your therapist to go deeper with. So MIB is meant to fuel your therapy. They work together. Because a dead bedroom isn't a sex problem, it's a visibility problem. And the fix isn't more sex. The fix is becoming someone who can finally be seen. And when you do that work, when you build the intimacy infrastructure with yourself and with your partner, the erotic side doesn't just come back. It comes back better than it's ever been because you're finally safe and connected enough to explore the full range of what sex can be. Intimate and erotic, slow and fast, tender and intense. All of it becomes available because you're not performing anymore. You're present. And here's a bonus that nobody talks about. When you're aligned and filled up from this work, your most creative side comes out. You become the most loving and patient parent. Self-care gets easier. Your work gets better. Everything benefits because you're not running on empty anymore. You're running on something real. And that's what's on the other side. And it's worth every uncomfortable step it takes to get there.